Hey everybody, I'm Ron Partlow with Rich Piana, and we wanted to dedicate this episode to the fans and answer some of the questions that you guys have put on the YouTube videos. So we thought we'd sit down one-on-one with Mr. Piana here and get some of the straight answers and explanations for some of the things he said throughout the episodes and include you guys in on it. How's it going, Rich? Good to see you again.
That's good, man.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of you lately.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about these questions, some are pretty crazy.
No, I think you'll be able to handle them. Let's get right to the first one here. This one's the Crazy Bum. He commented on episode number 1, and his question is, he says in the video he stopped training legs because he naturally has big legs. Mm-hmm. So what would your comment to that be?
Basically, it's the truth. I always had big legs. Growing up in high school, I wrestled. And I remember I was always conscious that my legs were too big. I thought they were fat. So when I came out with my singlet on for the first time, people came around me, they're like, oh my God, your leg. And I was like, oh, hey, wait a minute, So legs, I have short legs, so they grow easy. They look bigger than they are. So that's a true comment. That's the truth.
You're a lucky guy. A lot of guys have to slave for him.
Yeah, so. They've always been easy for me.
Second one, Fearless Not Careless from episode 2. Mm-hmm. He asks, he seems to be very rich. How has he become that rich? What is his job?
Well, my name is Rich, so yeah, he's correct. No, rich, that definitely doesn't describe me. I'm definitely not rich. I'd say I'm doing fairly well for myself. And but basically, it's real estate. The real estate, and I think he's thinking that because of the fancy cars, but a lot of people don't realize that the cars that I have are not all brand new. I didn't buy them off the lot, otherwise it'd be over $300,000 worth of cars, and I think even, the richest guy in the world doesn't have, $300,000 worth of cars sitting in his driveway. So, I buy the cars used, 2 to 3 years old, and then I fix them up, and make them, look good. So I think that's a misconception that people think I have a lot more money than I do.
You're a good shopper is what you're saying.
I'm a smart shopper.
And number 3 is from Aesthetic0212, and it's a comment from episode 3. And he simply says, eat 12 times a day, bullshit.
Bullshit, why would he say that? Basically, there was a time, which is what I said, that I did eat 12 times a day. And when I said 12 times a day, it was 12 meals a day. And that was because I was doing whatever it took, to reach my goal. And for someone to say that, it just shows that, they don't have the mentality that anything's possible. Anything you set your mind to is possible. I was eating about 1.5 hours to 2 hours every single day from the time I woke up. And there's times when I couldn't get my meals in, and it'd be like 3 in the morning, and I got to get up at 6 in the morning, and I'm not going to bed till I get that 12th meal in, and I would sacrifice sleep for the food because my metabolism was so fast, I needed that food. So, my advice is, believe in yourself and believe that you can do whatever it is, you set your mind to. So 12 meals a day can be done. So
you've done it. So
I've done it. I'm not doing it now. About 5-6 meals a day, but I don't need to put on any more size, so I'm good.
Okay, settled that one.
Yeah.
The fourth one is from RX Hardstyle from episode 4. Mm-hmm. And he wants to know, 3 shakes at 4 scoops a day, what's the point in taking excessive amounts of calories if you've hit your caloric goal? I don't get it.
Yeah. Basically, everyone varies what your caloric goal is. And I believe I was referring to myself, being 290 pounds. So for me, that's exactly works for me. 4 scoops 3 times a day. That's what I found. I can, slowly, gradually still put a little size on, without going overboard. And everyone has to kind of find out, what works for them. And what I would suggest to him or anyone else is to start off with, 2 scoops a day. It's 2 scoops 3 times a day, and see how it works after a week or so, and then slowly, add more as you go until you find, what's working best. Because there is no set rules. You can't open up a book and read that, okay, I got to follow this. This is my caloric, daily intake and blah, 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 because everyone's different. Everyone's metabolism is different.
Yeah, I find formulas are a good starting point, but then you have to bring in your individual.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone's different. You have to learn your body. That's the important thing. Bodybuilding is an individual sport, and it's about learning your body and learning what works best. And basically, if I throw it out, my opinion doesn't mean it's necessarily correct. I'm just giving you a guideline, and you can go from there. And, depending on your body weight, you're not going to be doing 4 scoops 3 times a day if you're 180 pounds. You're just going to, gain the wrong weight. So, which, makes sense. But I can understand where he's coming from on that question.
Right. You sound like you've always consumed an enormous amount of food to get big.
Yeah, my metabolism is super fast, so I've always had to be extreme. I've always had to go extreme when it came to eating. Otherwise, I'd lose weight. There's days when I would eat 8, 9 times a day, get on the scale, and I lost 4 pounds, So, but that's me. There's other people that eat 4 or 5 times a day and they gained weight. So you just gotta, find out what works best for you.
Now, the 5th comment here is from One Bass John, episode 5. And he says, he mentions the pump in the same sentence as pain, etc. Isn't one lactic acid buildup while the pump itself is simply that muscle engorged with blood? Mm-hmm. So I think he wants to know how you connect the two.
Yeah. Basically, a good pump is going to be painful. And when you're working out, the old saying, no pain, no gain, a lot of people don't understand what that means. And the truth of the matter is a really good pump, intense pump, is going to be painful. And the more pain, the better the pump. And a lot of times when that pain sets in, that's when people stop, because it's too much pain. But a true champion will go through the pain, and that's what separates a champion from a non-champion is being able to take that pain. And so pain and pump go together hand in hand. And the more pain I feel during a set, the more better I feel after the set. And some days you have better pumps than other days, depending on your carbohydrate intake, your sodium intake, your water balance in your body. And but the pump to me is the most important aspect in the gym. Is to get that burning, pain in your muscle that you just can't take it, and you just keep going and working through it.
So when you get to the point where you've got such an incredible pump that it's actually painful, like when you have to put your shoulders up on something to rest, that's something you're striving for.
Yeah. Every set. And if I don't get that, I'm upset with myself, because that's what I need, and maybe sometimes I go in the gym and I'm not getting that feeling, I might switch exercises, because that's the goal. The goal is the pain. The pain is no pain, no gain.
You want to know you hit the muscle, cause as much trauma as possible.
Definitely, yes.
We want to thank you guys for commenting on all the Mutant videos, and especially for the questions for Rich. We can't get around to all of them, obviously, but we wanted to make sure we include some of your comments, connect you guys with the project. But now I've got some questions of my own. There we go. No, one just from some of the conversations we've had, some of the stories you've told me, I just want to bring a few things up so everyone out in Mutant Nation can hear.
All right.
Have you ever been told you should get into wrestling?
Oh, yeah, daily. I'm sure you too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, constantly, all the time. And, there was a time when I thought about it, probably about 15 years ago. It interests me and seemed like it'd be a fun thing to get into. But I've had a lot of friends that took that road, and I'm actually happy I didn't choose that road, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. Just because of the injuries or lifestyle or?
Yeah, it's a lot tougher sport than people realize, Yeah, it's fake and, but, it's a tough sport. And a lot of people don't even have any idea. And I have played around in the rink, with some people. And, jumping off that, I didn't even jump off the top rope. I jumped off the second from the top rope, Let me tell you something.
It's higher than it looks.
Yeah, it bounces, but it still hurts.
I've been on a second turnbuckle too. It's it's funny how far down it looks.
Yeah, it's a lot higher when you're
especially when you're 300
there.
pounds,
Yeah, oh yeah.
You start thinking about your knees.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of injuries, even though it's fake, a lot of injuries.
Now, you're a very athletic guy. I mean, we saw in the flexibility video just some of the stuff you were doing, like when you were squatting down and you were jumping and kicking your feet out, some of the agility moves and how you do some MMA just for mobility. And then you mentioned that you could run a 4.740.
Yes.
Now, is this something you've done in the past? Are you willing to prove that now?
I'm willing to prove it. I was, the last time I was timed was probably 2 years ago. And I was weighing 260 at the time. Right now I'm around 290. So obviously that's probably gonna, affect my time a little bit. But I'm willing to do it.
What do you think you could run at 290 with no training?
No training
low 5?
right now. I think I could probably get a 5. I think I could do that. I think I pull that off. Yeah. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but that's my assumption. You know, it's running's always been a genetic gift for me. I mean, as far as like, you know, dunking a basketball, you know, at 6 feet tall, you know, so that's just something that genetically, I didn't, you know, I played basketball messing around, but never, you know, in high school or anything. And it's just kind of I don't know if it's quick twitch, you know, muscle fibers
Well, you
or
said
what.
you had big legs when you were young.
Yeah.
You got a lot of type 2B fibers in your legs and explosive speed, right?
Yeah.
And your hamstrings were always a crazy body part, and that's what sprinting's based on.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like a genetic thing that, you know, I never really trained to run. You know, I played football in high school and so forth, but, you know, it's just kind of a genetic thing I've always had.
Right. Now, talk to us a bit about Mutant. What's been your favorite part about joining the Mutant team and having all this focus on you from the company and all the opportunities that have come your way?
My favorite part is the fans, you know, it's just amazing. You know, I've met some amazing people, some wonderful people at the expos and stuff, and it just feels so good to know that I'm actually helping people, you know, and motivating people on a daily basis. You know, I get emails and Facebook messages all the time about how people watch my videos every day before they go to the gym, and it just motivates them and puts them in the right mood. And, you know, that just feels incredible, you know, to actually be motivating people. You know, it's a great feeling.
Right. How has joining Mutant changed your life? As far as your day-to-day, you know, things you do, activities, places you go now. The Arnold, work in the booth with us at the Arnold and the Olympia. You know, what other changes have you made in your life?
You know, it's actually pulled me back into the sport because I was actually away from the sport, you know, and joining Mutant has pulled me back into the sport, which, you know, I love the sport. You know, I was born in this sport. You know, at 6 years old, I was in Gold's Gym watching my mom compete. And so I've always been involved in the sport, and I've always loved it, and this has just pulled me back in it. And it's something I love, and being able to be involved as much as I am now and not competing is amazing for me. I mean, you know, how many, you know, people out there are sponsored athletes that aren't competing? I mean, an athlete competes. I'm not competing. So that's just an amazing, you know, amazing thing in itself.
Well, you mentioned to me a couple times now that, you know, it's sort of funny how things happen backwards for you.
Yes.
You know, you have all these young guys now. I mean, they ask me all the time. They must ask you like crazy. But how do I get a sponsor? How do I get a sponsor? Maybe they're just doing their first show or their second show or whatever, and they want to get sponsored. And here you are, done competing, getting a good sponsor. So what advice would you give those young guys?
You know, a lot of people don't realize is that getting a sponsor, you know, you have to go after it, you know, just like anything else in life. You know, you have to go after it. You can't just sit back and expect them, you know, to see you walking around the expo and go, oh, we need to get him. Who's that? Let's sign him up. You know, it doesn't work that way. You know, you have to contact them and stay on it, and you know, you also have to prove what can you bring to the table. You know, what do you have to offer? There's thousands of guys just like you. You know, what are you going to bring to the table that's different than, you know, this guy? And the important thing is, I learned the hard way because, you know, when I started doing well in bodybuilding, I thought my phone was going to be ringing off the hook. You know, people were going to call me and say, Rich Piana, we need you. You know, we want you. You know, blah blah blah. And you know, the next day, you know, my phone didn't ring. So that's probably why, you know, I didn't necessarily have the sponsors I needed when I was competing. You know, it is kind of crazy now that, you know, I'm sponsored by a great company and I'm, you know, they take care of me and, you know, I'm traveling all over and, you know, now I'm retired. You know, it is backwards, which is crazy, but, you know, I'm loving it.
Right. Are you kind of almost enjoying your role with Mutant as a non-competitor compared to the guys that are competing and they still have to do all the same traveling you're doing? Are you glad you don't have to worry as much about the training and the diet?
Oh, definitely. You know, just as a whole, it just feels so good because now I can just enjoy the sport completely 100%, you know? And I hang out with people that are getting ready for a show and, you know, it's the stress and the dieting and the low carbs and, you know, being in a bad mood and, you know, and you hear, and, you know, and then 6 months later, you know, they end up competing and they don't have a trophy. I mean, you know what I mean? And either do I. But during those 6 months, I was enjoying myself. I was going out to eat every night, working out hard.
Standing at the booth.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, it's great. You know, it's great to be involved in the sport and not have to compete.
Right. And then one more thing. I get a lot of comments from my friends that see your videos and they see my videos and the other guys from the Mutant team, and they say, wow, Rich's videos are unbelievable. The production, the way they look, the way you look, and that's Alex Ardenti.
Yes.
Now, what's it like working with Alex Ardenti? Tell everyone watching a little bit about him so they know.
Yeah, well, you know, Alex is a bodybuilder himself. You know, he bodybuilt, you know, he was bodybuilding his whole life. So he knows what a lot of photographers, you know, don't know, you know, and he knows how to see the body and make certain things pop and shadowing and
he knows how much we hate ourselves in bad lighting.
Yeah, so, you know, he knows exactly what to look for, you know, and it's crazy because, you know, I'll watch something and I'll be like, wait a minute, is that me? Because, I mean, you know, it's just amazing, you know, how he can make me look, you know.
Right,
I mean,
especially like you just been sick for a few days and you show up at a shoot and you've seen some of the stills that he took and you're like, wow, I look pretty good.
Like I'm 120%.
Yeah,
when I'm really about 80%. Yeah, but me and Alex go way back, you know. He shot me probably about, you know, maybe 18 years ago, you know, and I got a couple covers from it, you know. I got a lot of exposure, you know, from shooting with him 18 years ago. So I've known him a while. We train at the same gym, talk almost on a daily basis at the gym, you know. So
well, I remember as a young teenager starting out training, flipping through magazines, and you'd see the pictures, and Alex Ardenti would be the photo credit.
Yeah.
You know, and then here I am all these years later, I get to do, you know, shoots with him, and so it's pretty cool as a bodybuilder,
awesome.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's the best out there. You know, there's no one better, you know. And also, we got to give credit to Ryan. I mean, Ryan's the one that's creating these videos, you know. These are his ideas.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, you know, it's incredible.
Now, when you look around at what you see the other companies doing with their guys, do you feel like you just landed the perfect gig? Like
You know what, I do. I mean, you know, it's just amazing. I mean, it's just what they've done for me, and you know how I look and everything. It's just, you know, it's amazing. I'm definitely excited about it. Every time we go to film, I'm just so excited, you know, to see how it's going to turn out, and you know how it looks and how it comes out, and then get the messages, you know, of everyone telling me how great it turned out.
Right. Now, you're probably used to people coming up to you all the time and saying, oh man, you know, you look great, you have freaky arms, all this sort of stuff. But you know, earlier today, that one guy that was training, he came over to you and he just wanted to meet you so bad and get a picture with you, and he told you how he'd been watching your videos before he trained and all that stuff. That must be in a real resurgence now with all the Mutant stuff that's coming out, you know, and you said that's your favorite part. I mean, is it happening everywhere for you now? Are you getting it at the grocery store? Are you getting it at the record store? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, it is starting to get that way. It's nice. You know, I go places and I pop into different gyms. You know, a lot of people recognize me. You know, and the other night I was at a restaurant and there was a group of young guys, and you know, everyone at the table, you know, started yelling, "Mr. California, Mr. Cal-" You know, it's kind of funny, but yeah, I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, awesome, man. It was really good talking to you and hanging out and having a workout and everything.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll see you again soon, Rich.
All right, cool.
Yeah, thanks everybody for Mutant Nation. Final episode of Series 3 with Rich Piana, Leaving Humanity Behind. I'm Ron Partlow, out.